What's good, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. Today we have our official Foreman Files Media NBA Awards. This is not going to be a prediction video on who I think will end up winning, but it's going to be my personal prediction. Not prediction, I just said that. But my personal, who I think is going to win, or who I think should win, actually. That's the better way to put it. Make sure to like and subscribe. Go into the description. Click the link to submit your video ideas and comment who you think deserves these awards. To start off, we have the big one. I'm going to start off big, then, get a little slower, or I guess least important over time. The MVP. I'm going to give it to Luka Doncic. I know a lot of people might not like this. It's going to probably end up being Jokic, but in my personal opinion, I think it has to be Luka Doncic. This season, Luka averaged 34 points per game, 9 rebounds a game, and I'll round up for him and say 10 assists per game on the 5th best team in the West. Nikola Jokic averaged 26.4, or a little bit more than that, I think, or a little bit less. About 12 rebounds a game and about 9 assists a game, which is very impressive. And Shai is going to be my third guy. He averaged 30 points per game, about 5.5 rebounds a game, and about 6 assists per game on the first best team, or the best team in the Western Conference. Now, the reason I'm going to be giving this award to Luka Doncic is just because if you look at just on paper, his statistics alone, 34 points per game, 9 rebounds a game, and 10 assists a game is just something we haven't seen since the likes of Wilt Chamberlain, which is crazy to say. Now, if you want to argue maybe a Kobe or a Michael Jordan because of the 34 plus points per game, even James Harden did it one time, I guess you can, but we haven't seen anybody do that amount of points per game, 34 plus, and also go ahead and average 10 assists a game and 9 rebounds a game. Kobe didn't do that. LeBron never did that. Harden, he was close to that, but didn't do that. Michael Jordan didn't do that. It's just insane how Luka Doncic was performing this season. And also to note, his team was the 11th seed last year. He came back this year with more firepower and lifted his team all the way up to the 5 seed. And a lot of people think that they could end up beating the Clippers in round 1 this season. I personally, no, but they could also have a shot at the conference finals as well. Yeah, obviously, it's going to be very close. If you think it's Jokic, so be it. But my opinion, we've never really seen these stats before, and Luka Doncic is doing that right now. He deserves to be your 2024 NBA MVP. Next up for Rookie of the Year. Should be pretty simple. We have Victor Wembanyama of the San Antonio Spurs, this year averaging about 21 points per game, 10.5 rebounds, and about 4 assists. Also, 3.5 blocks a game. Chet Holmgren averaging about 17 points, 8 rebounds, and 2.5 assists on 2.4 blocks a game. And third, we have Brandon Miller averaging 17 points per game, 4 rebounds a game, 2.5 assists per game on 37.3% shooting from the 3-point line. This should be simple. It's not every day we see a rookie come into the league, leading the league in blocks and being top 3 in Defensive Player of the Year. It speaks for itself. Wembanyama is generational, and honestly, he probably has the Defensive Player of the Year award locked for like the next 15 years. This should be no question. It's going to be Victor Wembanyama. Now, next, we have the Defensive Player of the Year. Give me Rudy Gobert. I know this is going to be probably a little bit controversial, but at least in my opinion, I got to give it to Rudy Gobert. Averaging 2.1 blocks a game, about a half a steal a game, 13 rebounds a game on the number 1 defense, by far, by the way, in the league. Second, I will give it to Victor Wembanyama, averaging 3.6 blocks a game, about 1.5 steals a game, and about 11 or 10.5 rebounds a game on the 8th worst defense in the league. And then my third place, it's tied between 2 people. I'm going to give it to Anthony Davis and Bam Adebayo. If you want to argue one over the other, you can, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because my Defensive Player of the Year is Rudy Gobert. Wemby, insane defensive season. He had players shook when they wanted to enter the paint. But it was the 8th worst defense in the league, and if we have learned anything from the past, is that this Defensive Player of the Year award is not going to go to a player that's on a team that has a horrendous defense, and that's kind of what the Spurs were this season. On the flip side of things, Rudy Gobert, best defensive player on the best defensive team, and was definitely the centerpiece. He was the defensive hub on that team. Everything kind of ran through him on the defensive side of the ball. He had great defenders, surrounding him with Anthony Edwards, with Jaden McDaniels. But at the end of the day, we all saw the impact Rudy Gobert had. The advanced stats will give it to him over Wembanyama. Even the simple stats probably will give it to Wemby, but when we look at his effect on the best defense in the league by far, I think you have to give it to Rudy Gobert. Definitely close though. I think after this year, it's probably going to end up going to Wemby. Next up, we have the Sixth Man of the Year award. I'm going to have Malik Monk of the Sacramento Kings. Now, Malik Monk ended the season pretty poor because he got hurt and out for the season. Definitely one of the reasons why the Kings couldn't secure a playoff spot. But Monk averaging 15.5 points per game, about 3 rebounds a game, and about 3 rebounds a game and about 5 assists a game. Naz Reid averaged, he's my second guy, by the way. He averaged about 13 points per game, 5 rebounds a game, and one assist a game. And finally, my third person, I know in real life it's Bobby Portis, but me personally, I'm going to give it to Norman Powell, who averaged 14 points per game and 2.5 rebounds a game and 1 assist a game. I'm going to give it to Malik Monk because in games this season, it felt like when the Kings had nothing going, you put him in the lineup and they all of a sudden go on an insane run. They all of a sudden take over a game. And him being able to close games, finish games for the Sacramento Kings, it was apparent his impact on the court off the bench. Naz Reid, I think, replacing Karl Anthony Towns and doing it so well, he definitely has a case for Sixth Man of the Year. And then finally, Norman Powell. He shot 50, 44, 83 splits. 50 from the field, 44 from 3, and 83 from the line, which is insane. So the fact that he wasn't third kind of confuses me because I think he should have got it. But I'm going to give it to Malik Monk. It was very apparent to see his offensive skill set when he was on the floor. If he stayed healthy this whole season, I think the Kings would be the 8th seed right now in the playoffs and be facing the Oklahoma City Thunder. Malik Monk's a dog, and he's going to get paid this offseason. We'll see if it's by the Kings. We'll see if it's by another team. But at the end of the day, he's going to be my Sixth Man of the Year. Next up, we have, I believe, is Most Improved Player. I'm going to give it to Coby White of the Chicago Bulls. In real life, it's looking like this is going to go to Tyrese Maxey. But let me read you, the transformations these players have went to, from last year to this year. Coby White last year averaged 9 points per game, 2.9 rebounds a game, and 2.8 assists per game. This year, averaging 19 plus points per game, 5 rebounds per game, and 5 assists per game. If you're saying that's not an insane improvement, you'd be lying. Arguably by the numbers, by the jump from last season, he has the best case. Tyrese Maxey last season averaged 20 points per game, 20 points per game, 2.9 rebounds per game, and 3.5 assists per game. This season, averaging 25.5 points per game, about 3.7 rebounds a game, and about 6.2 assists per game. Great jumps as well, but I kind of want to leave Coby White still. And finally, my last player, I'm actually going to give it to Scotty Barnes. In real life, it's Alperen Sengun, but he did get hurt, so I left him off my ballot. Last season, Scotty averaged 15.3 points per game, 6.6 rebounds per game, and 4.8 assists per game. And also, his three-point percentage last year was only 28%. This year, Scotty is averaging 20 points per game, 8 rebounds a game, and 6 assists per game on 34% from the three-point line. Now, with all those stats I've read, obviously, Coby White had the biggest jump, but Tyrese Maxey has the most points per game and has probably the most impact out of all these guys just because he's a starting point guard on a playoff team. For Tyrese Maxey, the reason I'm not going to give him this award is because we kind of knew what was coming. Last year, when he averaged 20 points per game, we knew that he was going to make a jump with or without James Harden. And then when they traded James Harden earlier this season, we all knew he was going to average probably 25 plus points per game. And that's what he did. He didn't really exceed our expectations. He met them, and he had a great season. He was an all-star, but we kind of expected this. But for Coby White, it was definitely different. Last year, averaged 9 points per game as a sixth man. Then coming this year, 19.3 points per game. I think that shows most of his work during the offseason. Where with Tyrese Maxey, I think it just shows him having a bigger opportunity. Also, went from 2.8 assists per game to 5.2 assists per game, showing that he can be a true lead guard in the NBA. And going from 2.9 rebounds a game to about 5. The minutes did go up, but also his play did as well. So I'm going to be giving the most improved player to Coby White of the Chicago Bulls. Next up, I think this is going to be my last one. It's going to be the Coach of the Year. I'm going to give it to Mark Daigneault of the Oklahoma City Thunder. this is probably what's going to happen in real life, and this is what I have as well. For Mark Daigneault this season, went from 40 wins last season to, what was it this season? Like 54, 55. I don't have the exact number here. Second, I have Chris Finch. Went from 42 wins last season to, similar win total to Mark Daigneault's Thunder. Third, I have Joe Mazzulla. Best coach, or not best coach, only coach, but he coaches the best team in the league and did an amazing job this year. And finally, I have Jamal Mosley, who I had tied for third place with Joe Mazzulla. I mean, yeah, a big jump as well for the Orlando Magic. Went from a lottery team to a top 6 playoff team, even top 5 actually. So the reason I'm going to be giving it to Mark Daigneault is because just how he performed this season. They were a very young team, the second youngest team in the league. They were the youngest 1 seed of all time, and it was very apparent that even on and off the court, this team had good chemistry. It was a well-ran team. They liked each other. That's a big part of how teams can move. Only team I can think about over the last couple of years that didn't really have the chemistry and still ended up winning a championship was the Toronto Raptors. That team felt kind of weird. Kawhi was only there for 1 year, but usually when we look at eventual champions, they have good chemistry. They're able to work well on the court. They have fun off the court. And I think the Thunder, with their young, solid group of players, they have exactly that. For Chris Finch, honestly, the reason I would give it to him, or could give it to him, is he has the best defense in the league, and they are the 3 seed at a big jump. But honestly, I think they kind of overperformed this season. I know it's going to sound crazy, but when Memphis comes back next season, I could see, Minnesota Timberwolves maybe drop a little bit. There's a couple of other teams that kind of underperformed this season, which boosted up the Minnesota Timberwolves. I'm looking at the Clippers, I'm not looking at the Suns. But I'm not saying that they didn't deserve it. I just think they might have slightly overperformed. For Joe Mazzulla, the best team. And yeah, overall, I'm going to give it to Mark Daigneault. I think that he has a great chance to make a run in this playoffs. It's going to be tough. He's a very young team. But I trust him. He's going to be my coach of the year. So that's going to be it for my award predictions, or not predictions, but my personal awards. Hope you guys liked the video. If you liked the video, subscribe to the channel.